Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 58. I am joined by
David Allen. Hope everybody's doing well. We are almost to 60. Thank you for those that have listened and put up with us for now 58 episodes.
I'm Kareem. As usual, we are hosting yet another pod on a week full of Microsoft news. We actually have plenty of Microsoft news to talk about this week. We've been kind of running dry or when it comes to substantial Microsoft news, but we have some today. Going into, I think next week is build or the week after. So
next week should be
news is
build.
ramping up. Yeah. This week we'll be talking about Microsoft introducing a Hey Copilot trigger word and getting support for that on the platform. It's also quietly phasing out the Surface Laptop Studio. We have plenty of thoughts on what Microsoft is going to be doing with its Surface lineup and hardware in general, what kind of chips and stuff they'll be using going forward. We'll be talking about Doom: The Dark Ages, which was released this week, and I think you have some preliminary thoughts on it, having played just the cloud version, I think. Microsoft is also cutting 6,000 jobs. We'll be talking about that as layoffs continue. Google is introducing AI futures, a future fund for startups, I guess presumably to build AI stuff for their Gemini platform. Microsoft is also shutting down Bing search APIs in favor of chatbots, and what that means for the only other viable search solution, at least here in North America. Xbox has a floral collection to kind of, personalize and decorate your Xbox accessories. And then we were talking about OpenAI's vision for an AI-powered OS, because that company loves to just throw AI into everything. I'm sure they'll have an AI seasoning for their hot dogs and burgers at their offices probably somewhere. Just throw the letters AI on top of everything. And then we'll be talking about what we're going to be doing this weekend. I've said enough. Let's get you into this. What's our first headline?
I've got the I almost said Cortana there. Did you see that? Well, you can now summon Copilot with, guess what? The same way you summon all your other assistants. Hey, Copilot. And you can have short or long conversations with Copilot. Now, let me back up. This is only in the Insiders program right now. So if you go home and you fire up your PC and go, hey, David, you said I was going to see this on my PC. It's only in the Insiders program. It is not public yet. You will be able to say, hey, Copilot. Copilot will pop up. You'll get an audible tone. You can ask questions, have a conversation, and after a few seconds, you will hear a beep or some sort of audible tone to let you know Copilot stop listening, and you would need to summon it again by saying, hey, Copilot. Now, I've got some thoughts on this. I'm not sure how I feel, to be honest. Will people use this is my first question. I think, you've got to have your microphone open, I think, which is going to scare some people of, hey, is somebody listening? I think that's going to turn some folks off. And maybe at home you will use the feature, but I just don't see people saying, hey, Copilot, and hearing it echo through the office space. It's a nice way to get people to engage. I understand Microsoft's reasoning there, another way for people to engage Copilot. My question would be, if you have a discussion, you pause, and you get the audible tone that discussion has ended as far as the voice cue, if you start another conversation, will it remember the previous conversation? I'm curious. I'm going to be curious as to how it treats that, because, you will ask it a question, you'll go off and you'll do something, and it's going to give you the audible tone that it stopped listening. Well, if I say, hey, Copilot again, will it reference the previous conversation, or does it treat it as starting again? That's something I'd like to see Microsoft clear up or specify how that's going to behave, because I don't think people are going to talk to Copilot for 5 straight minutes until they run out of breath and, expect it to not pick up the next time.
Yeah, no, I agree. It feels like we've been here before. Shout out to
we have Cortana put us here.
Pour out a little drink for her. and arguably Siri as well, because hey, she's still maybe alive, but she's in a vegetative state in the hospital somewhere. Like she's on life support, and even Google Assistant. I think the problem that we keep running into is the idea of doing this across the board versus doing it situationally. There are reasons why people use voice assistant, digital assistants, and it's because they can't or don't want to use their hands to do it. If there's an option to type in or text something, most people tend to do that. There's a reason why we don't. A lot of people on their home screens on their phones may not even have the phone app on there because they don't want to talk audibly to people. Now, yes, you have the occasional person who talks for everybody when they're on the train and just speaking out loud and Bluetooth, and you're like, dude, shut up. But for the most part, people tend to like to text message. They like to type into certain things. They want to make sure that they're accurate enough. And again, we've gotten to a point with these voice assistants that even when we say, hey, the natural language has been approved, it's never accurate enough to make conversations as natural as you and I are having right now. Even when we need to clarify certain things, it's easier to clarify the one word than it is to clarify an entire sentence, especially when the agent or assistant gets that part wrong. Then you get frustrated. It's like, I could have just done this myself. I could have just typed in the correct thing. So, and I say all this to reemphasize, Microsoft doesn't have mobile. They were sitting at a desk when you're using Copilot for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And in an office, depending on if you have your own office, most people are sitting at cubicles or they're sitting in an open office environment where they have headsets on, Bluetooth monitors, things like that, to isolate what they're hearing and what they're interacting with and focus just on the desk in front of them. They're not yelling out, hey, digital assistant, help me with this, this, and that. They're not doing that at work. People are yelling out, hey, Google Assistant, or hey, Google, in an office setting. I know Microsoft wish they were on mobile, where again, if you were, perhaps bringing in groceries, you had your phone in your back pocket, and you somehow have your house digitally assigned as a door lock. You're like, hey, open the door for me because my hands are full. That makes sense and useful for that situation. It's rare to be like, I need Copilot to do something at work when I'm in front of a keyboard and I can just type it in myself. So while I understand the intention, I feel like this is going to be another kind of dead end with Cortana. Like, I'm glad it's there.
I agree.
Again, if I were to use the app on my phone, maybe I might need it for something, but maybe when I'm driving. But even then, I'm not doing intensive searches, and I'm using Maps, which is usually what you're doing when you're in the car, and that's Google Maps because Microsoft doesn't offer that. So I'm curious as to how well this is adopted, or will we just have another Cortana situation where this thing eventually gets phased out and we still have Copilot in its text form?
I think we'll have it, but I don't think it'll be used because I think about my own habits. I mean, what do? Let's be honest. I understand we're a Microsoft podcast, but everybody goes to Google, and or you're in Chrome and you just type what you need in the address bar because you can do that. And I get it, but I feel like this is going to break. It would mind. I feel like it breaks people's workflow.
Mm-hmm.
You're on that keyboard, you're typing. Who's going to stop typing to ask a question and then go back to typing? Because most times when you need something from your assistant, I'm finding, what do? We copy paste from Copilot or from Gemini because we're looking something. We copy paste what it tells us and then we dig further. I don't find myself, unless it's something very specific and usually technical related, that I'm even asking the follow-up questions past the first response. I get the first response. Yep, that's roughly what I need. I copy paste, hit Google, and then unfortunately Gemini and Google take me to my final solution. Now, if you're coding or something like that, sure. You sit there and you ask that thing 50 questions and you iron out what you need. But again, you're not doing it with voice. I get it. It's another way of interaction, but I think it's going to be very limited.
Yeah, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is Microsoft quietly phasing out the Surface Laptop Studio. And again, this is official. These are just based on manufacturers running out of supply and getting the no comment for Microsoft as far as bringing in additional. So the way to look at this is that, again, anybody who's looking to buy a new Surface Laptop Studio 2, even though it's been out for 2 years or so, better go buy them now, because it looks like Microsoft's not producing any more of these. Retailers are running out of stock, and there's no successor in development, at least as far as we know of. There's no FEC filings for any of this kind of stuff to say, hey, they filed a trademark for the next Surface Laptop Studio or whatever. None of that. So it seems like, from the way everything's shaping up, that Microsoft is about to kill us off. And it's also in line with what we're seeing as far as the Surface hardware division under new toolage and now Sans Panos Panay, kind of just streamlining the two laptops in their lineup, and they're just throwing all kinds of chips into those two. They've foregone the idea of new hinges and new form factors, and kind of incorporating all of these new ideas about what Windows can be, and saying, all right, this is what Windows is, and it works best on these two types of devices. What are your thoughts on Microsoft, saying goodbye to presumably the last creative idea that they've had in the bucket over the last 5 to 6 years?
You sum my feelings up there. I'm looking at for those that are listening, I'm looking at the photo of the Surface Laptop Studio 2 that we've got on screen here, with the, hinge screen that came out in front of you. I give Microsoft all the credit. They were very creative with this. I don't think anybody else, Lenovo, HP, Acer, Asus, tried to do anything similar to this. I think Microsoft stands on their own with the Surface Laptop Studio 2. Boy, that's a mouthful. But I think
making it too hard to say.
That may be. I think we're getting down to thinner, more power, more battery, more efficient. And I think, it's going to lead into some of our other stories here, but I think that's just where we're going. Now, what does that say for Intel? What does that say for AMD? Well, we'll talk about the AMD part of that in a minute. But you notice that Intel just keeps getting booted out of certain device segments. Now, your gaming PCs and your high-end multimedia PCs and maybe your coding PCs, they're still there. But if you notice, Microsoft is telling us. Last week we talked about the new Surface devices with the Snapdragon X. What is it? Not the Elite.
Plus, I think.
Plus. Yep, it's the Plus. Now we've got the Elite, and we've got, like you said, we've got two different models there. I want it from a tech point of view. I want to see the successor to this, whatever it might be. I have some thoughts, but I don't think Microsoft wants to do it, and I kind of understand why.
Yeah, I think we have to, I'm a fan of the device. I own one. I think it's great.
Yes.
It is the equivalent of a MacBook Pro in certain aspects. It's great for video editing, great for graphic intensive things because they pair it with an NVIDIA. Now, Microsoft's the service line has always been kind of tagged with the underpowered, overpriced thing. And I think they are starting to kind of try and change the battle on that. They're accepting that it's underpowered, but they are looking to at least address the pricing with the addition of the Surface Laptop 12 or Surface Pro 12 and the Surface Laptop 7, 13-inch or whatnot. And again, they put Snapdragon processors in that. They're moving their Intel line for business only, it seems. And this device kind of was out there languishing because it's a mix. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's a mix of the Surface Studio, which was the all-in-one with the articulating hinge screen that you can pull down so you can draw on and stuff like that, and the Surface Laptop, because it had the base. It took the Surface Book and kind of put it into one device. You never had to worry about disconnecting the tablet portion or anything to utilize the screen. At the end of the day, though, it seems like everyone's kind of figured out what they want as far as a laptop or a screen that they can draw on with either the iPad or Wacom or something like that of that nature. And so Microsoft has that device. They have the Surface Pro and they have the Surface Laptop. It seems like they're just doubling down on making those two devices their premier Windows experience. Now, remember when the Surface Pro came out, it was to help manufacturers eschew the idea of the beige box, the boring laptop that had no power. They were chasing after the iPad, and so they created this device, and it worked well to offer a little bit more accessibility, flexibility for people who didn't want the traditional clamshell device. And eventually, Apple went on to kind of come at the same problem from a different angle with the iPad Pro, where they were saying we need a device that's more powerful, but offers the same level of accessibility and flexibility as our laptops do. Beyond that, people use their phones. It's really hard to be like, hey, come take this weirdly designed laptop and do a whole bunch with it. And we don't make enough of it to be to sell well, and we need a new milling process for this. I think going forward, we'll see that they'll start probably putting in bigger, beefier GPUs in the Surface laptop body. They will probably make that a little bit thicker and then add some cooling into that thing, because they already have most of the manufacturing down for the Surface laptop. Or they might, again, do it for the Surface Pro. They might keep the same space as components get smaller and add more cooling into these things. But they don't have to mill out a third computing device anymore. It'll just be the two, and they'll start putting all of their efforts and resources into that as they consolidate. The other idea is that, what is Windows 11 for? The idea that they made the Surface Pro to showcase Windows 8. They made the Surface laptop to showcase Windows 10, essentially, or Windows, 10-ish or whatnot. What does Windows 11 or the future Windows, they're not touch-based. They're not fixing any of the touch stuff anymore. It's just becoming an operating system that uses a lot of AI. Do you need the Surface Laptop Studio 2 to do any of that? No, you don't. So that's their justification. I'm going to miss it, but I'm hoping that they took the spirit of, we want creatives, and they're going to foster that into the next device. And if it be the Surface Pro, just beefed up with more GPUs from either AMD or NVIDIA, or the Surface laptop. I hope they don't give up on that or try to replace it with saying, oh, AI will do most of that power intensive stuff for you. No, that's not how it's going to work. You're going to need a device that has a beefier GPU, but it may not just be the Surface Laptop Studio.
And you bring up a good point there. I think we have, I'm going to take my tech hat off for a minute and just kind of look at it as a consumer. What do we do with our devices most every day? We consume content, and some people create content with a heavy emphasis on consuming content.
Or I think what's never really told is that people process data for the most part. Like, when you're not watching Netflix or playing a game or listening to music,
that's where I was going.
Data.
You're like you said, you're processing things, and I think of my neighbors next door. There's not a computer in the house. They do everything on a phone and a tablet. They don't own a laptop. They've got a printer. Printer works with the tablet. Printer works with their phone. And I kind of use my neighbors because they've got 2 kids. I kind of use my neighbors as a judge as to what everybody else that is non-techie is doing. Because if they have anything at all techie, they walk over, hey, can you help us with this? I do so. But I notice, unless I go over there, the phone and the tablet is all there is. And the Surface is the place for Microsoft to put Windows on a tablet in front of you. They have a Surface over there. They use it for things like taxes, writing a document, working with an Excel spreadsheet, as you said, processing they're processing data. The rest of it is on their phones. And we even got to the point where CapCut, what's the one that escaped? Clipchamp.
Clipchamp, yeah.
They run on tablets. People are, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Not everybody needs a GPU. That's what I'm trying to say. Not everybody needs that dedicated GPU. And I think Microsoft is recognizing that and said, okay, for now, we'll let Lenovo and Acer and Asus produce those, because the market for those that need the dedicated GPU is not one that, we can sell enough devices necessarily to be profitable. They may have looked at the Surface Laptop 2 numbers, or listen to me, the Surface Studio Laptop 2. They may have looked at the numbers and went, we really didn't sell enough of those with the dedicated GPU. And for the lower models, people bought the Surface Laptop, the Surface. Maybe they're just phasing it out.
Again, it'll be missed. We'll put it in the pile next to the Surface Duo and Nokia Lumia phones and all the other
and the Neo.
And the Neo, yeah. With that being said, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is Doom: The Dark Ages. It's finally here.
Yep, that's, Doom: The Dark Ages was one I talked about last week, and I got an interesting story here. I just decided to pick this up because, one, I love Doom. I'll talk about that in a minute. Pretty good game. Two, I love pizza. I think most people put pizza and gaming together. I know I do. So I saw this headline and wanted to talk about it. There is a pizza chain called, let me make sure I say this correctly, it is Prince Saint Pizza. You can guess which way I try to say it. I try to say it Saint Prince Pizza because to me that's just the way that goes, but it's Prince Saint Pizza. And they have teamed up to make, you guessed it, Doom pizzas. And they're calling it Hellfire Pepperoni, Fresh Habaneros, and a fiery drizzle of hot honey pizza delight that is on your pizza.
So good.
Yeah, it smells good. Reading it sounds good. I don't have one close enough by me to actually go check this out, but here's something cool for those that do. You can pick up the pizza, and for every pizza you get, you will get a free month of Game Pass Ultimate. That is new subscribers only. I'm assuming you cannot add that code to an existing account. Somebody will have to try. You can do this from now until roughly, let's see, where's the date on that? May 15th. That was yesterday. Until June, I'm looking at my date here. Looks like June 15th. So you got roughly 30 days to try out the Doom pizza.
Yeah. I love these co-promotions.
That's the reason I picked it up.
It's very fun to see people get involved with gaming and making it more than just the, couch dwelling endeavor that a lot of people or parents assign to it. It's fun to see, people have fun with these kind of things. Just like when you have a movie franchise that gets promoted, when you get like the buckets for certain movies or T-shirts or things like that. I'm hoping we see more of that, especially for some of these new Xbox things coming out. I would love to have seen some stuff for South of Midnight, which is a game I'm playing currently. We'll see what they do for Clay Obscure Edition 33, and I think Ninja Gaiden as well. And when you add food with it, I mean, I'm a foodie, love food. So any type of promotion for that kind of stuff is great. Even if you can't get around to getting that, they do have merchandise you can pick up from their store and maybe just order a pizza locally. Either way, have some fun this weekend with any of the games. Eat some pizza if you can. If you're not a pizza person, eat whatever your favorite food is that brings a smile to your face. That
pizza on that screen looks good for two guys.
I know. I'm turning from it right now. I'm getting distracted. This will make me less hungry. We got a report about.
Oh,
yeah, right. Hits you in the bottom of your stomach, not in a good way. Microsoft is reportedly dropping. I believe they said the percentage of, because percentages sound nicer than actual numbers. They said 3% of the global workforce, which equates to about 6,000 jobs. And in their defense, I think they're currently sitting at over 200,000 jobs, and this is after having acquired Activision Blizzard. So 6% of that would be around roughly 6,000 jobs. Again, 6,000 people unemployed is a lot. There's nothing to shy about. And again, we take no pleasure in ever reporting this stuff. We just feel like it's necessary and incumbent upon us to, again, hold Microsoft accountable for when they do things like this. Microsoft had previously laid off about 1,900 people in January. So this is in addition to that. And it seems like Microsoft is breaking their cadence of usually leaving the big layoffs until the summer. So normally we'd hear about 7 to 10,000 jobs at one time in the summer as part of the write-off for their going into their final quarter. But it seems like they're spraying it out. The company says it's aligning its workforce with an AI-driven business strategy, which sees the company investing about $80 billion at the same time as laying off. So it feels contradictory if you're an employee who's about to lose your job. We hope that there are some off-ramps for other positions because, again, they say jobs, they don't say employees. So perhaps if we can hopefully get a little silver lining, it's that some of these people will find positions elsewhere within the company, even though the job itself, the job listing, is no longer viable. Amy Hood stated that the company is reducing its layers of management to increase agility and build high-performance teams. A lot of corporate speak for we had a lot of people doing roughly some of the same jobs or similar jobs that we're looking to reduce. So, and again, this is across the board. They aren't targeting, just the new Activision acquisition. And typically when they do this, it's a lot of their sales teams. These are people who go out and sell Windows, Microsoft 365, things like that. So we could see some of those people maybe, and they're not saying it's performance-based. So, but usually when you lose a job, it's because of performance, just in a roundabout way. It may not be individualized, but because whatever sector you're working in isn't performing as far as revenue or profit is concerned. So just wanted to note 6,000 jobs are at risk of being let go over the next few months. So if you have family, friends, anybody that that's working there, keep an eye out for them.
It's sad to see anybody, losing jobs. And as you were talking about this, depending, and I'm not going to turn this political at all, and I hope, none of our readers or listeners, tries to turn it political in return. But it's up for debate for some people whether the economy is in good shape or whether the economy is in bad shape and how you judge that. And I understand politics right now. It's how you judge the economy. Me, I look at a receipt and go, hey, that receipt for that item 6 months ago was a lot less than it is now. And I think about that. And, Microsoft has to think about that too, because, things are more expensive for them. Azure is more, for example, is probably a little more expensive to maintain and to expand. And, what do you need Azure for? AI. And that's where everybody is right now. And I'm trying my best to put a even spin on this because I'm a sucker when a company says, hey, we had record profits last quarter. And Microsoft did say they had a very good quarter. We talked about it last week. I have a really hard time. I fall into that rabbit hole just like everybody else. You had a record quarter, but you're getting rid of 6,000 employees. But you have to understand it's not just a money thing. It's about the future, being agile, hey, we may lose some money here and keeping things on an even keel. That's why you see 6,000 people, losing their jobs. I just hope with the state of the economy and the things we continue to hear that there's 6,000 jobs out there that are suitable for these 6,000 people and they land on their feet quickly. Like Kareem said, if you know somebody working at Microsoft, keep an eye out for them. The world is hard right now, regardless of where you work. Everybody's going through a little something. Make sure everybody's okay.
Who knows? Maybe they get picked up by our next topic, which is Google, who apparently has some money set aside for employees. This is a story you, I believe, wrote about, but it seems like they're introducing an AI future funds for startups.
Yes, they are. And that kind of surprised me. That's the approach I'm going to take. That really surprised me that Google was doing that because I don't know that everybody knows what we're going to do with AI yet. So Google kind of wants to give the startups out there a kickstart with their program. Let's see, what was the name of the Google Futures program. Long story short, I won't waste much of your time here. It is a program that if you are a startup, you can apply for and apply for today. There's a link in the story on our website at the very bottom. If you are accepted, you will get access to DeepMind's latest models where you can jump in there, work with it, create your own AI project. You can get help from Google AI developers and you get AI support. And certain people that are selected can get funding support for their project directly from Google. Don't know what it takes to get that, what amounts or anything, but I would assume you'd have to be pretty much locked into a serious AI project that Google sees something different in that nobody else has created. You also get Google Cloud credits because, of course, if you're developing AI, they want you to do it on their platform. They did not state what those, how long those credits lasted, what those credits were, but it is a nice program. It sounds like to get started. Reminds me of the Microsoft program Spark. If you remember Spark back in the day, if you had a small business and you joined Spark, I think back then you got a OneDrive membership. I think there was an Office 365 membership. And for those that are old enough, I think there was some Microsoft TechNet goodies plugged into some of that. So it kind of reminds me of what Microsoft did then. It will be interesting to see if Microsoft, Meta, Apple, throw anybody else a bone to do this. I think this is big for Google. They're offering these small businesses a chance to get started. I thought I would reach out and actually see what it would take to fill out an application. And when you fill out that application, see if you can figure out what happens next. Do they help you build your product? Do they help you flesh out your idea? What is different working with Google other than the cloud credits, that they're offering that are supposedly, would give you a discount on cloud hosting. But I want to know what's different in working with Google than doing it yourself.
Well, one of the things I think you even stated in here was that they have an opportunity for direct investment, which I think comes along with all of the other things you were talking about as far as assistance and fleshing out the idea. I think once they see that you have a viable option or a viable solution or your project is of value, and you're at the phase of direct investment, that's when they will probably start to guide you and they're like, hey, this is what we can get back our investment from. If you started honing your AI towards this, or your platform offered these things, or if it tied into Gemini and these aspects. So that's one upside, because you have one of the biggest companies in AI basically saying, hey, here's a direct funnel of money into your project. And we know that these companies are in the billions and trillions of dollars of valuation. So that's good, versus doing it on your own and hoping that Google comes by and wants to buy your company. You can start from the ground up with these ideas and their funding behind it. I would assume Microsoft is going to offer, if they don't already offer this, and we don't know every aspect of Microsoft's business, but I'm assuming they have some guy that sits looking constantly at GitHub going, yes, no, that looks cool. This could be great. Let me send an email to you about this, or LinkedIn as well. And they kind of poach some of these ideas from their own GitHub, because they do own that, co-own that. And I'm again assuming Apple has a very similar farming system. So it's good to see. We, as you and I still remain skeptical of AI, it's good to see that there's at least people about to come up with new projects for what could AI, could be used for in the future. There is no set stone saying this is the thing that AI is good for, and we're just going to keep refining that. They are out there pitching ideas, and again, maybe one of these companies, smart startups, finds the nail in the coffin when it comes to hammering in the final thing that makes AI useful for everyday people. With that being said, Microsoft back in bad news. Good news, bad news. Good news, bad news.
At least we're keeping it.
Yeah. Microsoft decided to shut down its Bing search APIs. Now, with the caveat of pivoting towards chatbots. For those of you who do any business with Bing search, you might be slapping your forehead going, "Ah, no." Because again, in North America, Bing is the second option by an order of magnitude less desired than Google search, but still an alternative. And what Microsoft is officially doing is cutting off the access for search engine startups and developers who rely on Bing's raw search data. The company is shifting focus to AI-powered chatbots, specifically through the grounding with Bing search features within Azure AI. So again, I am not someone who develops any applications based off of Bing search. I use Bing search as far as paying for ads. So I don't know how that's going to work and how much raw telemetry data it has to make sure my ads are optimized in that aspect, or at least when it comes to these AI chatbots, but we'll see in the future. Bing Search API has previously provided an alternative to Google search infrastructure, allowing companies like DuckDuckGo, Brave, and U.com to build search engines without the cost of crawling and indexing the web. Microsoft has been gradually restricting access, first by raising AI prices, and now by just shutting them off entirely, because people apparently were still clinging onto it and they couldn't get you to leave. Instead of offering raw search results, Microsoft is pushing developers towards AI-powered search augmentation tools, which it integrates real-time web data into chatbot responses. Grounding with Bing Search allows AI chatbots to pull real-time web data, allowing Microsoft's broader strategy of embedding AI into products, including Copilot for Office, AI-powered edge features, and Azure AI services. So again, this is all AI and everything. They're kind of like OpenAI in that aspect. Developers who relied on Bing's APIs for traditional search functionality are, obviously frustrated. And some have argued that the new AI-powered system lacks flexibility, offering summarized responses rather than actual raw search data. Because again, it's one thing to be like, this is what we've extrapolated and interpreted, versus here are your actual numbers. Make of them what you will, kind of thing. Large customers like DuckDuckGo will retain access to Bing search data through private agreements, but smaller developers are being cut off entirely. So that definitely sucks. The shift could push competitors like Google to open up their search data, especially as antitrust investigations force Google to reconsider its market dominance. Maybe Microsoft is preparing for that inevitability when the FTC forces Google to offer the same level of access to its raw data it's collected over the years to make itself a monopoly in search. It has to, as one of the remedies that was floated across, saying, hey, give everyone access to that. If they want to create their own search engine based on that, they can do that. And I think it's over a 10-year span of data collected. So I don't know what 10 years they were going to use, but if Microsoft is anticipating that, they can be like, you know what, we don't need even offer ours anymore. Everyone's going to grab from Google and create their own version. What we'll do is we'll create a layer of abstraction on top of that, making our UI easier to use, integrate with AI. And this is why people will want to use our version, sans the raw data, but the framework itself. So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, or if you have any, let me know.
Well, I think this is just part of the pivot, from Microsoft. It's all about getting you in an AI, in a chat bot. You're going to start seeing more ads in your chat bot. So it's not like, losing the search engine is going to be, or access to the search engine is going to be painful. And I understand that there are people out there, like you mentioned, that use this data for demographics and don't use it for, necessarily a product per se to offer a different search engine. And I think that's something that Google's going to have to do. And I think people are finally figuring out there's a reason that those Gmail accounts have been free. But at the same time, folks, there's also a reason those Outlook.com accounts, Hotmail.com accounts. Let's go back.
Hey, whoa. What is all this whataboutism?
And the MSN.com accounts, back in the day. There's a reason that all that's free. It's part of the data collection process. Love it or hate it, that's part of it. And I don't get caught up too much in it, because I understand that when people get a device or turn a device on, from the minute you sign into that device, it's collecting data. But Microsoft has said, look, we would like to turn off the access to data and funnel it to the chatbot. Now, how does a developer tackle that? I'm not sure, because there are developers that have got plugins to these data sources, can they plug in that same data source to a chatbot? I don't know.
No, I think Microsoft's banking on the fact that they can translate the data through the chatbot versus plugging in. So again, whatever it is you had the plugin assigned to do, you can just tell the chatbot, and that's what they're banking on. And again, the accuracy of that is going to be wildly, probably inaccurate for a lot of people because again, they just need the numbers, and they craft these programs to extrapolate the numbers in the way that they need to versus trusting an AI chatbot to understand what you need. So we'll keep an eye on that for anybody who's in the search engine game, at least as far as Microsoft's concerned. On our next topic, we got Xbox Floral Collection. I think this is a fun one that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, there's a little fun. There are various ways to take this post. I'm just going to be blunt with you. But Microsoft has decided to put in some decoration. That's what I'm going to call it. Some decoration to some of our Xbox accessories. And I'm actually going to pull this up here on our website to read this off to you. Let's see here. There it is. And it will read a little better. We have there, turning your accessories into a colorful floral, it is very flowery, collection. And if you watch the YouTube video that is on our post, it will give you some highlights of what these are. So long story short, you have two controllers. They're both ironically wired controllers. You have the first one that was, what was the name of the first one? The Night Blossom Power A Advantage Plus wired controller. It is.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, that one just, I tell you. Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, Xbox One, and Windows PC. In its stunning blossom design, you have the quick twist thumbsticks. I had to kind of figure out what that was. It's where you can twist the thumbsticks and make them a little bit shorter, a little bit taller. You've got the Hall effect modules, the dual rumble motors. You've got the impulse triggers. It is headset compatible with a 3.5 millimeter headset jack. You've got an extra long to get tangled up in everything. 10-foot USB-C cable to connect that to your Xbox. If you don't need a controller, you've got an interesting looking headset here, which didn't have a whole lot here. It's I'm going to say Audi's Maxwell Flora limited edition award-winning headset. It is low latency. It is wireless. Claims to be an 80-hour battery life, and it clocks in at $339.99. So that one's got a little bit of expense to it. They claim to be 90 millimeter award-winning planar magnetic drivers, ultra low latency, 2.4 gigahertz, and don't know how I feel about that. 80-hour battery life, as I mentioned, with fast charge in 20 minutes. It is class-leading high resolution, 24-bit, 96 kilohertz audio, and you can filter noise reduction, and it filters noise reduction for clear communication. Now, if you like turning your Xbox around and looking at the back of your Xbox, I don't understand this accessory here, folks. We have a Western Digital Black, the memory cards. It's just your normal Western Digital Black memory card with a little bit of a flowery design on it. But for those that need a recap, this is the 1 terabyte version, the extra quick NVMe that supports the multiple game resuming. Like I said, you can look at it in the packaging. You can plug it in the back of your console. Most people, I hate to say, will probably never look at that thing again unless it breaks or they need to take it out. And last but not least, probably the one of all these that would interest me a little bit, we have the Spring Breeze Game Sir T7 floral wired controller. This has both elegance and comfort, says Microsoft. You've got the Hall effect sticks and triggers, the 2 back buttons. You've got trigger locks. dynamic RGB lighting, and it is also a wired controller for your Xbox or PC. Again, kind of like our pizza story, I commend Microsoft for doing this. They made something a little different, made something a little decorative. I'm not sure this decorative, though, is going to appeal to everyone. So I have to ask my esteemed co-host, does it appeal to you?
There actually are a couple designs on here for those who are listening. The headset has a subtle design that's around the inner line or inner rim of the ear cups that looks pretty cool. It's not as garish as some of the other ones. I actually do like that plum flower that has kind of the one side with the floral print on it. So
yeah, I like
cool.
that one.
Like I could see that. I'm not a huge fan of the blue necessarily, but I could find the blue if I were to like ever turn the lights off in my house. That thing is pretty bright. I get it. There are people who put other skins on. Like I was thinking about putting an X-Men skin on my Xbox itself. So just another way to customize it, and I think it's inclusive to add floral print. It doesn't mean that these are made for ladies. This is just people who like flower print in general. And just want something a little different than the solid one color that some of these Xbox controllers come with.
Now, is it sad to say that for me, I have never purchased anything but the original gaming
No, that's
accessories?
expected because I assume you have the original background for your phone still on your phone in the original background for your laptop. It's just you.
Absolutely.
David is an originalist. If he were a Supreme Court justice, that's what they'd call him. Moving on to our last topic, which is OpenAI's idea of a AI-powered OS. I threw this in here.
I'm making that face for a reason. I have problems with this.
You're saying even more time. I lost you for a second.
I said I made that face for a reason. I have problems with this because it kind of takes me back to our previous stories about data gathering.
Yeah, OpenAI Sam Altman has floated the idea of an AI-powered operating system which could function as a subscription-based service. All of those words were wrong in every context. I had trouble just getting them out. The idea of a subscription-based OS is bad. The one that's powered by AI, bad. One that's powered by OpenAI's AI is all bad. Nevertheless, the AI OS would aim to replace traditional operating systems with ChatGPT-like AI interfaces integrated into everyday computing. Again, he said this off the cuff, so to speak. The reason why I made it a story, and I think other people have kind of reported on it, was one, the curiosity of what an AI operating system would be like. We're still enamored by the GUI of modern day computing, the actual visual aspects of it. But when it comes down to it, these are all, text-based things that could be necessarily operated by voice or an intuitive system that knows your workflow in general. So the idea of opening windows, resizing them, closing them, all that kind of stuff could be done if the one window you need can kind of present all the information you need for it in different, alignments or whatnot. So getting over the visual aspect of this, of what could this be, I think the more interesting thing is that we keep getting OpenAI encroaching on everyday things by saying, just put AI in it without necessarily understanding that not everything needs AI. I wrote about the lack of clear APIs or SDKs and ideas for this, how the AI operating system would scale, and what that means just, again, for what we currently know about AI being both expensive and resource intensive. And this is just for the small amount of people that are using it for the occasional search or refinement of workflows. Imagine having to use this thing, as we're currently doing, setting up a podcast and working on it and having this thing on nonstop for 8 hours, just draining or burning through, fields and water and all these other things at, what is Microsoft at 1 billion people using just Windows, let alone the millions of people who use Mac and Chrome OS, things like that. Like, how does that work in actuality? And again, the idea that this is OpenAI, who's had a history of hit or miss releases with their ChatGPT models in general. This isn't, again, and that's not to say that Microsoft doesn't have hit or misses. Obviously, Windows 8 was the biggest miss, but it was still reliable enough to be an operating system. We're talking about things like hallucinations where it could get entire things wrong, and they want to do a subscription based on this. Just recently, they had to recall the most recent ChatGPT because it was having issues. So imagine if you were paying for this and, here's your new update to your system. Oh, sorry, we're pulling it because it was massively bad. And I'm sure maybe people who are angry with Windows would hope that Windows would do something similar, pull Windows 11 and just stick Windows 10, but that's not how these things develop. So what are your thoughts on this?
We're throwing your kids may have had a pair. You remember those Velcro things that you slid on your hands, and your kids had a tennis ball, and you tried to catch the tennis ball with the Velcro thing on your hand? I'm sure you've seen these things around stores. That's kind of what this reminds me of, and I think that's what OpenAI is doing. They're throwing things at Velcro just to see if something will stick. I don't believe there's going to be an AI-powered operating system, at least not in this form. Maybe Sam Altman surprises me and says, here's your AI operating system. Oh, and by the way, it's $19.95 a month or $99.95 a year. No, Sam, not doing it. One, there's all the issues that you mentioned. Computing power, how many trees we're going to destroy, trying to power these things. What do we do with battery life? Is Sam thinking that the NPU and these AI chips, that's what we're going to use to run our operating system? We haven't even got to the point of being efficient, much less, does it have printer drivers? Does it have webcam drivers? Does it have Xbox controller drivers? Do we have licensing for those drivers? He's just floating the idea to see if something will stick on his dartboard and see if somebody will come to the table, I think, and say, hey, this is a great idea. We'll back it. Okay, let's see if we can get somebody else to back it. All right, suddenly we're building an operating system. Windows is how many decades, and Apple too for that extent, and Linux, they're all decades into development. I just don't see where Sam produces an operating system that anybody would want right now. We have Windows. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, we have the Ballmer situation of developers. The idea that developers will want their apps to be ingested into AI without any of the branding benefits of that. This is the same situation we had with Windows Phone, where they wanted to do the hubs, where they took information of the app and use their UI to kind of display it. And this is why apps like Facebook and other people were hesitant to make apps for Windows Phone, because they were saying, hey, we need people to have the brand association with the big blue icon, the brand association of actually going to GitHub, because that's how we sell them on more things. Uber Eats, all these things. They have to go to the app so we can upsell them other things. If they just get the functionality straight from the app and build it into the one thing, they'll never go to the app to do anything other than the one resource or the one thing that they were tasked with doing. So the idea that, hey, we're going to have this AI ingest all of the functionality of your app and spit it back out to people, developers are going to be like, nope, not happening here, buddy. Sorry.
I get the concept, not practical.
Last thing, what are we doing this weekend, my friend? What are your plans? What do you got going on?
Well,
we building your own AI system.
Well, I'm gonna need a financial backer for that. Are you willing to help me out a little bit?
I got it. What can $5 get us?
It might tell us how to order a Whopper at Burger King.
I could go for a Whopper while I'm playing Doom.
I could. Yep, that's exactly what I intend to do. Actually, I got started on that, and when I say started, 15, 20 minutes in, just to get a feel for it last night on my Legion Go handheld. I was playing the cloud version. I'm going to dig into that a little deeper this weekend. I think that's going to be a good game. I was looking at some of the initial reviews before I even fired it up. It didn't start off as a 1-star or 2-star. It was starting off at a 4-star. And, some people have their complaints about it. But overall, it looks to be a pretty solid game. So I'm going to be checking out Doom. That'll probably be mainly what I do. It is going to be nice weather here this weekend, so I'll probably spend a little time outside, hey, maybe I'll take the handheld outside. I'll be taking the battery pack with me, but hey, that's all right too. Maybe I'll go outside and play some Doom. Other than that, I don't have a lot of plans this weekend. Hopefully it's a quiet weekend. We had pretty much a washout week here last week. It started raining on Sunday and didn't stop raining until last night. So
Oh, geez.
not a big plan. You can't really go out and do a whole lot. There's a lot of flooding around here in the area. But I know you live down there in sunny Florida, sunny all the time. What are you doing this weekend? Are you going back to some dance recitals?
Not recitals. The girls have a play. They're doing Shrek. They're doing the Shrek play. So,
cool.
Yeah. So I'm at least there for one of the showings. I know they have 2 showings that day, so I don't know if I'll be there doing that, which could consume all of my Saturday. But like you, I have the Lenovo Legion Go S, I think it is, a little less powered one than you have, but it's where I'm constantly playing South of Midnight, and I want to kind of finish that. But I've also downloaded Doom, so I may, when I get to it's not really a boring section, but a section where I can take a break, I may jump over to Doom as well in the evening. I'm also, like I said, a fan of movies and comic books and some other things like that. So, I'll be reading. I think I'm starting the Miles Morales series on Spider-Man, which the only reason why I'm doing that is because they're introducing a new Hulk. I'm a Hulk fan. And so they have this new female Hulk who's a therapist, who's Miles' therapist. So I want to read how they get to that section. So I'm starting that series. They're on issue 30-something. So I got a lot of reading to do this weekend for that. And cooking. Maybe I'll get some cooking done, make some dinner prep for the week, because we usually have our busy weeks and we don't have enough time in the evening to cook. So I cook Sunday and make a lot of stuff that we can kind of just easily heat up again or reheat during the week for evenings and stuff. So those are my things: cooking. And podcasts. I listen to podcasts while I'm cleaning, while I'm at the gym, stuff like that. So I'll be listening to some podcasts, cooking a little bit, and if I can get to the evening and stay up long enough, I will get a couple hours of gaming done.
Cooking. I live in the wrong area. He just informed me that I live in the wrong area. I am not close enough to the Anderson residence.
Yeah. So if you ever get a chance to, maybe I'll ship you a pizza as well. You can have it with your gaming this weekend. If people want to talk to you, hang out with you, converse with you, where can they do that at?
David PAJ 1978. That is Blue Sky, please. Account does exist, and I noticed some of you found it. There is a account by that name on X, and I will at least answer it once a month. You kind of get my sarcasm there. I'm not ignoring people, but I would prefer that people go to Blue Sky for gaming and tech and entertainment. That just seems to be a better platform right now.
Yeah. Don't you also do some stuff on Twitch as well, or are you going to be Twitching?
Yes. I am going to be starting I've got everything set up. I've got to work on the layout a little bit. I actually worked on that this week while it was raining and couldn't get out and do anything, but there's going to be a Microsoft Unboxed Twitch channel. I was lucky enough to get the Microsoft Unboxed name, just like our website, MSFT Unboxed. We have that account. It is set up. You can start following there. I've got to get some layouts for our stream. I have tried 2 or 3, and I haven't found exactly what feels right to me yet. I want to, be something professional, something that we can stream a little bit of everything and not necessarily be game centric, because I do want to go stream some Doom on some of these Lenovo PCs that we've been lucky enough to test over the years. And kind of, you guys can tell me how bad I am at getting sawed into pieces in Doom, but hey, we'll have some fun.
You can find me at Happy Hulk at Blue Sky as well. That's just like my co-host here, David. I spend most of my time. Every now and then I'll float over to Instagram or Threads, but those are both under just my name, Kareem Anderson. If you can't reach us there, reach us in the comments on any of our videos. We definitely try and stay up to date on that. If not there, then maybe comment on any of the articles we write on our website at microsoftbox.com. And if you can't reach us in any of those spots, maybe we just don't want to be reached. Think about that. Think about that. Everyone needs their space. We hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the pod. We will see you next week. Probably talking about build and more Copilot stuff next week. So enjoy.
Have a good weekend, folks. Have some fun.
Turning dreams to what we see. From OS running seamlessly. Unlocking all creativity.